Just imagine, you trust the people you love most, believe that they would be able to do anything for you until life shows you otherwise. A disease can shake the foundations of anyone, but nothing hurts more than finding out that whoever swore to protect you is precisely the one who architects his ruin. This is the story of a woman who, seeking recovery, found a meticulously planned trap by those who should be her safe haven. Good night, listeners. I am Andre Branco, and you are on the Entrelated Soul channel. Today I bring you a narrative that will mess with your emotions and make you rethink who you can really trust. Get ready for a story of betrayal, survival, and revenge that will make you jaw drop. For months, Helena felt her body fail, a fatigue that was not past, constant dizziness, a weakness that prevented her from leading a normal life. Doctors chained exams, but the answers did not come. Her husband, Stanislaw, at first showed concern until patience was running out. That's when the mother-in-law, Lydia Borisovna, came into play like a hurricane. Fine, said the woman, whenever her son went to work. Why you make yourself sick? My son kills herself to work for this house. Helena tried to explain that she had received a bonus of 800,000 rees, kept for the future of the family. But the answer was always a dwarf of disdain. Stanislaw was no longer the same. Rather, he defended her from his mother's onslaught. Now he was silent, as if every word of the mother-in-law was an absolute truth. Until, unintentionally, Helena heard a conversation that froze her blood. She only gets in the way. Son, sick? Useless, but there's all that money on her own, Lydia whispered, with a calculating coldness. But she's my wife. Mother tried to argue Stanislaw, without conviction. Oh, stop this nonsense. You have access to the accounts, don't you? Take it far away. It says you disappeared. After a while, we declared the disappearance. We cried a little to the police and problem solved. Helena's heart almost stopped. 5 years of marriage, promises of eternal love, and there was the proof. It was just an obstacle to eliminate it. The next day, Stanislaw came up with a saving proposal. A season at an uncle's country house inside Tver. The fresh air, the silence that will make you good, he said, with a smile that now sounded false. Helena resisted. I don't want to go, but he insisted, with a kindness that looked more like a disguised order. Don't be stubborn. I've organized everything. It's just a week. She knew she had no choice. Stanislaw had already decided his destination. The property was an isolated caseber, abandoned in the middle of nowhere. No neighbor per miles, no phone signal. Stanislaw helped unload her bags, showed where the groceries were, and suddenly she was agitated. I just remembered I have an urgent meeting in the city. I'll be back tomorrow. He lied, avoiding looking at her in her eyes. But my cell phone doesn't catch it here, he protested. Helena, desperate. One day without communication will not kill you, he replied, before disappearing in the car that was walking away from the dirt road. When engine noise was lost on the horizon, Helena understood. She was alone. Sick? No money. Without asking for help. The tears came, but she wiped them fast. If her husband had condemned her to death, she would fight to survive. The first days were hell. Weakness, pain, fear. But Helena forced to move. He found cans of old food, learned to light the fireplace, salt water in the back of the back. The once fragile body began to adapt. A week later, an elderly woman appeared at the gate. It was Nina Grigorievna, resident of the region, who took care of the abandoned properties. Girl, what do you do here alone? He asked, shocked to see Helena so downcast. My husband said he would come back. She lied, her voice embargoed. Nina Pina S. shook his head, suspicious. Over time, the two approached. Helena told the whole truth. This man is not ashamed. Nina exploded. And now, if I show up, they'll say I ran away. He took my card. My money, don't worry, reassured the elderly woman. My son works with technology in Moscow. He will help us. Igor, son of Nina, was the turn Helena needed. In a few hours, he recovered access to her bank accounts, and what they found was terrifying. Stanislaw had looted almost half of the 800,000 in 3 months, shopping in expensive restaurants, designer clothes, jewelry, spas. While Helena struggled not to starve, they lived in the luxury at their expense. These two are worse than snakes, Igor muttered, but now we have evidence. Let's take the change. The most ironic, while planning revenge, Helena realized something surprising. Her health improved. Fresh air, the absence of stress, the simple routine. She returned to life. While Stanislaw and Lydia dug her own grave. Igor found that in September, the couple had bought tickets to Turkey, a 5-star resort, all paid with Helena's money. They will stay at Lazarny Berry, a luxury suite overlooking the sea. It costs almost 100,000 a week, he said with a malicious smile. Let's make this trip unforgettable for the worst possible reason. 2 weeks before the match, Helena returned to Moscow secret. With Igor's help, he rented an apartment near his old home. The plan was put into action. It blocked all the bills, filed a police report for abandonment and fraud, and gathered all the proof that money was yours. Meanwhile, Igor contacted the hotel management. They take M. O'Shea and HASTUMP very seriously, especially when it involves a sick woman, he explained. They will love to participate in the surprise. Stanislaw and Lydia embarked euphoric, finally free of that weight, celebrated his mother-in-law, flipping through travel magazines. Now, let's enjoy life and her money, laughs her son while planning the official version. We say she's in a sanatorium. No one needs to know the truth. Upon arriving at the hotel, they were greeted as kings. The suite was a dream, spacious, with balcony to the sea, every detail shouting sophistication. They barely had time to taste the moment when, at the first dinner, the manager approached a cold smile. Lord and Mrs. Kovalov, we have a delicate situation to solve. Before they could react, two Turkish police entered the hall, followed by an employee with a tablet displaying fraudulent transfers. It seems that Mrs. Helena Kovalova is very alive and has just looked all her accounts. Besides, the Russian authorities have already been notified. I think this trip is over before starting. Stanislaus' face was pale. Lydia tried to protest, but the words died in her throat. While they were escorted out of the hotel, under the curious eyes of the other guests, Helena now holds in her apartment and Moscow's smile was allowed. Justice had a sweet taste, and for the first time in a long time, she felt that life finally belonged to her. The king-size bed with satin sheets, the whirlpool tub full of fragrant foam, the porch overlooking the Turquoise Sea, it all seemed out of a dream. Lydia Borisovna wasted no time. She was already posing for selfies with sunset in the background, while Stanislaw, with a glass of whiskey in her hand, was heading to the hotel bar. The first day was an orgy of pleasures, luxury spas, dinners in starry restaurants, compulsive shopping in local boutiques, all paid with Helena's money, all stolen from Helena. At night, exhausted but euphoric, they climbed to the room. Stanislaw inserted the magnetic key into the lock and pushed the door. What saw him paralyzed in place. Sitting on the bed, his legs elegantly crossed and a cold smile on his lips. Helena was alive, and, by the brightness in the eyes, furious. Beside him, two men of impeccable suits and impassive expressions observed the scene. One of them tall, with a square jaw, crossed his arms over his chest as if he was already bored with the theater. "Hi, my dear husband," Helena said, with a voice so sweet that she froze their blood. "How are you? Enjoying my money?" Well, Lydia Borisovna, who had just entered her son, let out a sharp scream as she saw her. The hands shake. The designer bag slipped from the fingers. How are you here?" Stanislaus stammered, his face contouring in a panic and in belief mask like this. Helena rose with feline grace, adjusting the silk blouse. "Unlike you, I didn't starve in the trap they set up for me." He took a dramatic break, as if he jumped every word. "Let me present. These are representatives of the Turkish police and the Russian consulate. They were very interested in the story of a husband who leaves his sick wife to die alone, while squandering his economies in luxury resorts. The square maxillary man stepped ahead and displayed an identification. Stanislaw retreated instinctively, as if that gesture were a sentence. "Mr. Stanislaw Korshanov," the policeman announced in impeccable Russian. "You're arrested on suspicion of fraud, misappropriation, and attempted murder by omission." His gaze turned to Lydia. "Lady Lydia Borisovna Korshanova, your accomplice, this is a mistake." He shouted his mother, the veins of his neck jumping. "We did nothing!" Exclamation. "No." Helena took her cell phone out of her pocket with a slow, almost theatrical movement. "So listen to that." The audio filled the room. Family voices, hoarse, loaded with a cruelty that now sounded grotesque under the relentless light of the truth. "Are you stupid or what? The money is in the account. The card is with you. It takes her far away and gets rid of it." It was the voice of Lydia. Acidic, calculating. "Shut up, mother. I know what I'm doing." Stanislaw, impatient, as if discussing the discard of an uncomfortable object. The silence that followed was so dense that you could cut with a knife. Lydia paled until she was the color of the sheet. Stanislaw sank in an armchair, his hands covering his face as if he could erase reality with a gesture. "We have everything," Helena continued, the now cutting voice like a blade. "Recordings, bank statements, witnesses. You spent almost 600,000 my rubles, thinking I was dead. But I'm here, alive, healthy." His eyes sparkled, and with a thirst of justice that you cannot imagine. Astur's Turkish police acted with brutal efficiency. In a matter of minutes, Stanislaw and Lydia were handcuffed in the very room they had reserved with dirty money. All of his shopping, the gold watches, the designer dresses, to the Italian shoes that Lydia had insisted on taking were confiscated as material proof, including, for the morbid delight of Helena, the 30,000 rubles gold earrings that the mother-in-law had bought for herself with her daughter-in-law. I demand a lawyer, Stanislaus shouted as he was escorted to the car, the despair distorting his features. This is a frame. Of course it is, Helena agreed, watching the scene with a smile that didn't get to the eye, just like his concern with his sick wife. The next 2 weeks were hell. While Stanislaus and Lydia rotted in a Turkish cell where the smell of mold and the lack of privacy were a cruel contrast to the five-star suites they imagined deserved, Helena enjoyed the room they had reserved. The hotel, and a repaired gesture, offered it free stay, cold champagne, and delicious silence, interrupted only by the sound of the waves. Back to Moscow, the news spread like fire in dry straw. The neighbors, who once dozed over the poor Stanislaus and his missing wife, now avoided him on the stairs. Co-workers, who heard their lamentations on the tragedy, faced him with disgust. The mask of the inconsolable widower had fallen, revealing the face of a small, pathetic predator. The trial was fast. The tests were overwhelming. Extracts, recordings, testimonials. Stanislaus received 4 years in prison, suspended for fraud and abandonment of a vulnerable person. Lydia, 2 restrictions of freedom by complicity. At the time of the sentence, the old woman tried one last attack. You destroyed my son's life. Rifford, the fingers crisp as claws. He loved you! Helena just laughed, a clear and free sound that echoed through the room. Love, he repeated, incredulously. Does this kind of love that let a person die alone, without water, without medicines? He shook his head. No, Lydia Borisovna, what you felt for me had no name. But justice, yes, as injustice, when it arrived, was relentless.